chartered global management accountant and a property investor. In the 5 years that I've ran a property accounting business, I've processed thousands of property transactions in Xero. In this video, I'm going to give you a demonstration about how you can process property-specific transactions in Xero. Watching now for a demonstration.
So what we can do now is we can start to reconcile transactions. So let's go on to this now. Okay, so there's a few different ways we can reconcile transactions. So the first one is just to if it's a kind of one-off expense, which we're not expecting to repeat, we can just literally click the details. So Happy Lettings is who we're paying it to. Click that, put it into the who, and for every transaction you need to create a new contact. So we're going to click new contact. Happy Lettings is now saved as a contact. We then need to choose what that transaction is for. So this is rent. So in this case, we're going to put rent receivable. And then we can put in details here of what it is. We can literally just copy and paste that across. Station Road rent. Copy across and then click OK. What we'll see is that Xero is clever. It uses AI. It will find any kind of transactions which look similar to this. It will then kind of suggest that that is potentially what it is. And actually you'll find as well, if there's more detail in the description, Xero is quite good now. It picks up potential transactions and gives it a recommended accounting code so you can quickly process your transactions. What we're going to do though is, because things like rent, they're not really one-off occurrences, you're going to get, well, hopefully if your tenant's paying their rent, you'll get a monthly rent from your tenant or via letting agent. And that is basically it's going to be, what we can do is we can set up a rule for that. So rather than having to make a new transaction each time, it basically automates it as much as possible. So it's just a case of quickly checking it and then clicking a button. So what we'll do is, for some of these transactions, they're actually not going to be one-off transactions. So let's set up some rules. So this one here, Bill Smith DLA. So this is director's loan account. So Bill is paid £25,000 into the bank account as part of the director's loan account. So that's something, if you're a director of a company, you're probably going to be making quite a series of these transactions. So it's actually easy to make a rule. Let's do that now. Create bank rule. Okay, so it's going to take you to this first stage, and this is basically the fields and conditions it looks to associate a transaction with a rule. So we're going to say that basically any payment from Bill Smith is going to probably have his name from the bank transfer, but rather than have equals, we're going to have it contains, because sometimes it might say Bill Smith and have some more information like remarks next to it. So just going to change that to it contains and delete the second one. We're now going to select which contact we want to associate that with. So that's going to be Bill Smith. I'm going to add him as a contact. And then we're going to basically then allocate line items. So I would just ignore this first box, and we're just going to use this second one. And we're going to put Bill Smith DLA, Director's Loan Account. Remember, we set up a Director's Loan Account accounting code earlier on. We're going to use Director's Loan Account Bill Smith. There's no particular property that's linked to, so we don't need to use that. But if some transactions are associated with a particular property, we need to make sure we fill that information in there. Before we click save, we're going to check the name of the rule. There's one Xero defaults to aren't usually that particularly helpful, so we're just going to add a bit more detail. So Bill Smith, DLA, Director's Loan Account, that's more helpful. It's just important to note though that this is a receive money rule. We need to do one for spend money rule as well. So if we pay out money to Bill Smith, we're going to need to set up a separate rule for that as well. So what we'll do now is click save. What we'll see is that for any kind of times where Bill Smith's paid money into the company, it's now going to link it to that rule. So it's going to save us some time. So we're going to be able to just quickly click some of these to account for it. What we've got here is we can see that solicitors, Station Road purchase. This is where you can see here we've paid money in. So that looks like a deposit to purchase a property. So if you look at the description, it says Station Road purchase, 24,000, 24,500. That's kind of like a typical one-off transaction. So we're not going to buy Station Road property again. So there's no point in creating a rule for that. What we're going to do is just put the details across. So solicitors, We then need to know what accounting code, because it's a purchase of a property. It's a balance sheet transaction, so it's not an expense. It goes into the balance sheet, so it's something. It basically is an asset that the company is purchasing, so it needs to go into the balance sheet. So we're going to use remember we set up a accounting code for this particular property. So Station Road Investment Property. We can put some description in there. We can just copy and paste that across in this case. And then we're going to click OK. That's process that transaction. So you've got another DLA one here. So we'll click through those now because that rule is applicable. There's £25,000 there, £25,000 there. Here we've got a new one. So we can see we start to pay mortgage payments for Station Road now. So once you've got a property, you're probably going to have routine every month a mortgage payment, which will be a similar amount. So let's set up a rule for that now. So again, we're going to go with conditions match. We're just going to keep it to 1. So yeah, the bank is Paragon. You probably normally have like a reference number after that. So we can just switch that to contains. It'll probably say Paragon. It might have a reference number, which every transaction has in it there. We're going to use Paragon as the contact and create a new contact. Again, we can use the second box. So it's Paragon Mortgage. It's for Station Road. So we've got an accounting code for mortgage interest, which we're going to use. And we're going to put in the relevant property here. So Station Road. This means that all of those mortgage payments are associated with the property Station Road, and that's going to be important later on down the line when we go to do customized profit and loss statements. Going to set the rule. So Paragon, again, just move away from the default one that Xero gives and just give it a bit more detail. Station Road Mortgage, and we click save. See now that is now gone into the rule, and you'll see that any other similar transactions are going to be also associated with that rule, which is great. It's going to save us a lot of time. So keep going through. So we can actually click some of these now. So Paragon Station Road Mortgage. So this is one. Remember earlier on we had a transaction that was similar to this, and we basically put the details in. It's now looking to copy that going forward, but we're going to again set up a rule. So we're going to click Create Bank Rule. Okay, again we're going to link it to Happy Lettings, and again it'll probably have a reference number after it, or it might even have the details of the property in the payment reference, which would be really useful. Going to put Happy Lettings as the contact. Use the second box. Happy Lettings, Rent, Station Road. We use rents receivable in this time, which we've got for all of our rents. We'll go into rents receivable. And again, we're going to link it to that property, Station Road. Add a bit more detail here. Station Road, rent. And then we're going to click save. See now there's a rule created for that. Again, that's going to save us time. So we can start clicking through these and selecting them where the rule, we just need to check that the rule is appropriate and it's picked it up correctly. But yeah, that works. These rules are all correct. And you can see how much time this is going to save us. It's gone from having to kind of manually do every single transaction to all of these ones basically being linked to a rule. So yeah, it's going to save us a lot of time, which is good. So yeah, happy with all these ones. We check them. Okay, this is now a different one. Okay, so here we got a payment to solicitors for £300. It's for Cliff Road. So here Xero has tried to link it to a previous transaction, which is actually incorrect. So that's why you just need to make sure you check transactions, make sure they're accurate. This is wrong. So actually it's for Cliff Road. And you can see here it's a payment on account. So normally a solicitor will require you to make like a few £100s to pay for things like searches while so they can get on doing some concurrent activity with the transaction. So any payment to solicitor for the purchase of property is a capital expense, and it has to go to the relevant balance sheet accounting code for that particular property. So this one is Cliff Road Investment Property. So it's not an expense which is deductible from your rental income. It's a capital expense, which means that it's basically linked to the value of your property. With this one, we can remember to link this to the particular property. I need to do that with all of our transactions. So this was for Cliff Road. Okay. This one I'm going to come back to. I'm going to show you a different way you can kind of deal with a transaction like this, where you have like a one-off. You probably have an invoice. I'm going to show you something I can do in Hubdoc. Link a specific invoice to a transaction. It doesn't work with mortgage payments because you don't necessarily get a monthly invoice from the mortgage provider. You normally get like a statement on an annual basis. So, and it also isn't going to be applicable to rental income normally, because if you use a letting agent, basically what you'll have is you'll have a rental statement normally once a month, but it'll have basically how much rent you get and all the expenses you deduct off. Unfortunately, the Hubdoc, which is a linked software, which I'm going to show you shortly, it doesn't work for rental statements. Basically, there's a get around, which I'll show you later, about how you process those. But for the time being, we'll come back to this later. So Bob Builder, let's just leave that for now. We'll come back to it. So yeah, this is Paragon. This is the rule we set up for the Station Road mortgage. And again, it's tried to link this to Station Road, but it's not Station Road. This is another purchase of property, this time for Cliff Road. So we need to just correct that. Cliff Road investment property. This is another deposit we paid for this time for Cliff Road. Link it to it. Always link it to a property on below and click OK. Yeah, that rule is working there. Good. Now we've got a new one, so we're going to have to. This is for rent for city lettings for Cliff Road. So let's create a new rule. Okay, so as before, then click that to contains city lettings, and it'll probably have a bit more information about the property particularly as well. I'm going to use city lettings as the contact. Rent for Cliff Road. Rent receivable. Link it to the property. And just add a bit more information here again. Then click save. Okay, we've got a new one here. This is for, it looks to be a mortgage for Cliff Road. So let's set that now. Create bank rule. So this is from Kent Reliance. Click that to contains. Again, it'll probably have a bit more information. Put in the contact as Cliff Road. In the second line, then put information Cliff Road mortgage. Count is going to be mortgage interest. I'm going to put the property in here. And then we're going to click save. So again, these rules are all working now. Great. So click OK for them. And we just got one more here. This looks to be Station Road. This is again a payment on account for solicitors. So yeah, this time it's put in the correct place. It's Station Road investment property, and for the purchase. Okay, so we've just got one more to process now. I'm just going to show you how you can process when you get an invoice from a contractor, for example, or from any of your providers. Really, you can use it in Hubdoc to basically put the invoice in there and link it to a specific transaction. So what we'll do now is we're just going to show you how you can connect your Xero to a Hubdoc account. Okay, we're going to click sign in with Xero. Okay, so once we're in our Hubdoc page, it's going to look something a bit like this. There's a few different ways you can upload documents into Hubdoc. So one way is to click upload document. It lets you drag and drop the file into there. Another way is to go into settings, organization, and then it's basically, if you scroll down, it gives you like a default email address. It's quite long-winded, but you can basically copy that email address. If you forward any emails which have an invoice in them to this email address, it's basically going to pick it up as an invoice. So that's really handy. In this case, I'm just going to upload a manual invoice. So we're just going to drag and drop it in there, or just what I'll do now. Okay, so you can see it's picked it up. So what we can do is now we'll process that invoice in Hubdoc. So we'll click on it. The invoice has all the information in there. It should pick up most of it automatically. So it's picked up the suppliers, Bob Builder. It's picked up the amount, which is good. VAT rate, it's not exempt, it's no VAT in this case. And then you just need to then add some details in here. So we're going to add, it's for a purchase, status is awaiting payment. Sometimes it defaults to draft, but if you put awaiting payment, it's going to make it automatic to link it to an invoice, link it to a transaction. If it goes to draft or awaiting approval, you'll need to go into your bills on Xero and approve it before it can be associated with a transaction. So we're just going to click awaiting payment. We're going to add the details. Bob Builder. Great. I'm just going to select the relevant accounting codes, in this case, correct repairs and renewals. We can actually link it to a property as well. So you can see this is for Station Road. And then we're going to click publish. So what we can do now is we can flick back to Xero. Now if we refresh this page, you can see that it's automatically taken that invoice and linked it to this transaction. So we can click OK now. This is a really useful way because it basically means the invoice is all held within the cloud and linked directly to transactions. Okay, rather than you having to have some other way of storing your, ideally digital way of storing all your invoices. But like I say, it doesn't work with rental statements because it can't. It doesn't work when you've got like income and expenses in the same invoice. Unfortunately, it's no good for things like insurance or mortgage payments as well, because like I say, you get annual statements. It doesn't really work very well, but it does work well with things like builder invoices, for example. So we're going to click OK. So what we've done is now we've reconciled all the transactions. So you can see that actually by setting up rules, it actually speeds things up significantly. But also use Hubdoc as well for those kind of invoices we want to put into as well.
Hope you found this video useful. If so, please remember to like and subscribe for more content. If you enjoyed this video, then you're going to find this one really useful. It's going to show you how to set up tracking categories so you can link income and expenses to specific properties. Watch the video now.